gaming fans and my fans, I hope at least. And welcome to a special treat. No, it's not the Tomcat. The Tomcat hasn't arrived yet, sadly, but in my infinite wisdom, I have decided to acquire the Mig-19P, which is the plane you see here in this, video. The Mig-19P, of course, is part of the Russian Red Force airplanes available in DCS. It's the third MiG available. We have the 15, 21, and 19 is the third one. I actually happen to own all of them, the modules. And, well, of course, there's the Mig-23, which I know Razbam is working on. Razbam, I'm keeping a close eye on you. I definitely want my Mig-23. Now, the simulator itself is quite quiet because this plane is very loud. Well, the Mig-19, to be honest, I don't know that much about it. It's not a plane I'm that familiar with. It was exported, yes, I know that the East Germany has used it. And some other countries as well. I think Cuba also bought them. Well, what makes the Mig-19 very different from the other birds, from the other MiGs? Well, first of all, compared to the 15, 21, and the 17, I don't know much about the 17 either, but the 15 and the 21 are both single engine. This is also a supersonic twin engine MiG, so that's actually something that makes it a bit different. Two engines is something I always liked in a plane, so I prefer having two engines to one, obviously. And in, well, good old traditional Russian fashion, it's a very simple plane. It's actually meant, I think, as an all-weather interceptor. Also day and night, so it doesn't really care about what time of day or what kind of weather it is. This thing will fly, or would fly, and intercept aerial targets such as, for example, B-52 bombers and stuff like that. Now, I'm not sure how to compare it with Blue Force aircraft, but I think it's more or less the equivalent of a Super Sabre. Even though the Super Sabre was single engine, this is twin engine. It's right there with the MiG-21. Well, what is it good for? It's an excellent interceptor. I haven't flown combat in it yet. Also, as you know, I have a track IR now, so I can actually look around. There's my wingman over there. He is just off my wing. There he is. So, what can it do? Well, first of all, as I said, its main job is that to be an all-weather interceptor operating out of improvised runway. It has a very tough landing gear. There's a bit of wind here over the mountains. We're about close to 3,000 meters, so I'm not going to go higher than this, no point. So it's an all-weather interceptor. It can carry two air-to-air missiles at the AA-2 ATOL, I think, which is more or less a Russian and Chinese copy of the AIM-9B Sidewinder. So, yeah, it's an air-to-air heat seeker. It can have two of those. One on each wing. I have none at the moment. I'm just flying in a clean configuration, so I have not even external fuel tanks. Nothing of the sort. It can also carry bombs, which is the Russian series of FAB 250, I think 100, and maybe FAB 500. I haven't really checked the bomb loadout. Hello viewer, how's it going? And of course it has two guns. Now I'm gonna try to show you the guns. It's gonna be a bit loud. Anyway, that was very loud. The guns themselves are at the root of the wing, so I just like looking backwards. This is so cool. So the guns are at the root of the wing. It has two of them, 30mm, quite high caliber, but very few rounds. The main thing these were meant to be used on is bombers. So let's say if a bomber entered Soviet airspace during the Cold War, these MiG-19s or the MiG-21s would be dispatched to deal with it. I mean, I understand probably many of you are fans of Blue Force aircraft, excuse me, but I think the apologies, I'm quite tired. The Red Force also deserves your attention because there are some pretty cool airplanes. Not all of them are in DCS. Of course, this is due to military secrets and the permissions you need to build any of these planes for DCS. But I'm really happy that at least we have 3 Cold War era MiGs. So I don't know. Well, the MiG-15 is a Korean War, but we have 3 MiGs in the family. They're pretty consecutive. Well, we don't have the MiG-17, but as far as I know, it's not really different from the MiG-15. So in terms of armament, I would actually say this is closer to the MiG-15, except the fact that, oh yes, it can also carry rockets. The other thing is it's closer to, as I said, the MiG-15. So it's not the best ground attack platforms, but it's a decent interceptor. Now, compared to the MiG-21, of course, if ground pounding is your thing, you could fly the MiG-19 or you could fly the MiG-21. But we're talking about the MiG-19 now, not the 21. And also, hence the name of the episode, this is actually called the Farmer. Yes, it is the new aircraft. Hello. Tonim, how's it going, man? It's new from Razbam, actually. Razbam have decided to basically release it today. Let's try to keep altitude here. Yeah, but it's a pretty good plane, I think. I mean, I've flown it like once, maybe an hour ago. I had to try it. I couldn't resist. So I just had to, plug in. Yeah, it does. I mean, if you look at the textures, I'm just gonna, zoom into to the actual details. I actually love the old 1960s and 50s style textures. And the instruments, of course, I can't really zoom in much more, but I love the way the lighting, the shadows are done, so I think it's just great. Controls-wise, it's actually a very simple plane. If you've flown the MiG-15, this wouldn't be too alien to you. I think it has a very nice startup sequence. Now, there's a manual that Razbam Simulations have published for it, which has a pretty clear startup sequence. The controls are pretty easy to find on your own. If you've flown a Russian aircraft, well, they're a bit, spread out in all sorts of places, but of course you have here basically fuses for the systems, not fuses, excuse me, power controls for the systems, all sorts of other things here. You have the twin throttle. I haven't really checked this side so much. I think this is an armament control panel. Yes, this is the armament control panel. Flaps controls, if you've flown the MiG-21, it's exactly the same. Oxygen controls, radar altimeter, and yes, of course, certainly. And now, alright, let's level her off here. But yeah, that was an outside view. I mean, she looks pretty amazing, if you ask me. This is the new aircraft. I think it sells for about $49 or $45 right now. Well, I mean, this is not about the money. I'm reviewing it because it's a new aircraft. I've never reviewed one before, and it had a lot of early access videos. You can watch those. Quite educational, if you ask me, but this is my first hands-on approach to the MiG-19. I normally fly Blue Force aircraft, but I do enjoy flying the MiG-21 quite a lot, and the MiG-15. I think they're all the MiGs have very nice modules. So what you have is pretty much, well, your standard instruments, engine, VSI, fuel quantity, the typical Russian ADI, HSI. It has actually radio navigation such as the ADF. So that's the only thing you'll have. It doesn't have support for RSBN. I'm not sure if future versions of the MiG-19 had support for RSBN, but this one has just ADF, radar altimeter, clock, slip indicator. So it's a very simple plane, but it has all the instruments you need to fly it, in my opinion. It has a radar, very similar to the MiG-21, but the controls are a little bit different. I haven't tried the radar yet. Here are if you're familiar with the MiG-21, again, like you have here the gun loading buttons, and you have homing for all sorts of beacons near and far. This is the radar control, so let's try to turn it on. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's the radar lock switch. Okay. And now the radar is basically in a warm-up mode. If you see the red line here in the radar system, so that's basically the radar has to warm up for a little while. Now I'm not sure if it has the same limitation with the MiG-21's radar. The MiG-15 doesn't have a radar that you can only operate it for up to 25 or 15 minutes. I don't remember the exact numbers, but that's pretty much it. So you can track targets up to, I think, was it 10 miles or 10 kilometers. It has a very short range. And of course, since you cannot carry any sort of guided air-to-air missiles like the MiG-21, you're limited to your AA-2 ATOLs, which are basically heat seekers. The plane doesn't come with any sort of defensive measures such as chaff or flares, as far as I know. So it's if somebody locks you up, you're pretty screwed. Oh, I actually have a 1070. It's an older graphics card. I think it's a 1070. Yeah, at least, I mean, I'm actually using a gaming laptop, not really a desktop for this, so... Yeah, actually, I would say that. I have flown the L-39. I like it. I like the L-39 quite a bit. I think it's probably the best trainer they have. I also have the C-101, the Spanish Aviojet, but I think this is just in its own league as a plane. I mean, it's, of course, it's supersonic, but yes, it does feel a lot like the L-39. The only thing is, for example, like something that the L-39 does not have, it does not have the turbo starter or well, it's an APU basically that L-39 has. But the way it works is, once you start, for example, the left engine, you can just use, automatically, you can use air from the left engine to start the right one. So after you connect the left engine, you can just disconnect the ground power. The plane will be able to start without help from ground power once you have one engine running. Well, there's my wingman. He's still tagging along. It feels like it has a bigger range than the MiG-21, definitely. And with external fuel tanks, apparently it has quite a range. Yeah, that's actually a nice feature. So it's kind of a step forward. The MiG-15 is a bit finicky to start, in my opinion. It's not a bad plane by any means. The 19 is basically a classic step forward. Then comes the MiG-21, which has its own engine startup APU. So yeah, we're getting there. I don't know about the MiG-23, and by the way, guys, Razbam is making a MiG-23. Or from what I heard, it's the MLA version, so it's an ML, but that's all I know. I cannot give you more information because I'm not affiliated with them. Of course, I'd like to get my hands on it. I would love to test the MiG-23. I actually had the distinct pleasure of seeing a few of them last summer at an old airfield in Eastern Europe, a couple of MiG-23 MLDs. They were really cool, but the sad part is they had just been left out in the rain and, under the weather, and they just, they were in a pretty bad shape, if you ask me. And I'm gonna descend a little bit. Let's fly it a bit low level. We've been quite high. I was about to say let's look a bit out the window. Yeah, I'm crazy like this. Actually, this is a funny thing. Each time I go flying, like in a passenger airliner. Yes, of course. And there we go. That was a flyby. Let's see if it has the F4. I haven't tried it. But yeah, what I find funky, because in the MiG-21, the ADI, for example, is fairly normal, but this one has the reversed Russian ADI, so yeah, it's a really nice plane. I mean, so far I'm enjoying flying it. So yeah, it might be that I might actually start flying this bird quite often. So I'm not going to cover any weapons in this video. I'm actually not very good at dogfighting, and this being an interceptor, obviously requires you to be quite good at it, and of overall air-to-air combat. But of course, I'm looking to improve, and this is a very simple interceptor. Also, I like flying the F5, so in that aspect, it's not dissimilar. So you only have 2 heat seekers. After that, well, you're at God's mercy. Literally. And of course it has the 2 guns, but compared to the F5, which has quite a bit of guns. Alright, take care, man, and remember, if you like the content, feel free to follow. There's more DCS content bound to follow. Of course I do stream other games, but DCS I think is probably my biggest love at the moment, so I've flown simulators for quite a while, but I think I'm gonna just be sticking to DCS. And a flight simulation point of view. Anyway, take care, man. See you in the next one if you decide to join up. And anyway, guys, you can ask me questions. I can try to show you things. Of course, I haven't read completely through the manual. I'm still learning the startup procedure. Like, I actually have printed out the paper for it from the RASBAM manual. So I just have it there. Bye-bye. See you in a... Now let's see if we can do anything with the ADF. So I'm going to try to find a station here to tune into. So let's see if there's any station here. Actually, yes, there is one on 1000 kilohertz. So let's actually level this off a bit, so I don't feel like having a taste of the mountainside. It tastes rocky. And I don't want to crash the Mig. She's brand new. So let's use the ADF here. And it has a tuning system. Okay, so we need to tune this way. That's 590. Come on, man. Oh, okay, this is... Yeah, it's like this. Okay, so that's... Yeah, I find the ADF quite funny, actually. This is so, old style ADF. You actually have to crank this. So how are you guys doing? Come on, don't leave me talking by myself. If you have any requests, please feel free to ask. That's why I'm doing this. that should be 1000 kilohertz. Now the needle should basically go up. There we go. So the radio station is somewhere here, so the needle's already pointing in the right direction. I'm gonna see if I can follow it. Now ADF is something I have never really used. I mean in Blue Force aircraft I use TACAN most of the time. And well, of course, if they have VOR or something like that, obviously I will use that, but ADF is quite rare for me, so. The green light that keeps coming on just tells me that the trimmer is on a neutral setting. Oh well, it's somewhere down the coast, so I'll basically just use my Mark 1 eyeball and navigate like that. I should be fine. And if I have a map here, well, I was pressing M. Okay, so this bay here is actually a good visual reference. I thought there was a problem with the texturing. Okay. So what do you guys fly? Feel free to tell me. What do you enjoy flying? Oh, 80s jets. So you like the Mirage, I suppose. Yeah, okay, those are actually some of my favorites. Vigan and F5 are basically well. I'm old school. I kind of grew up in the 80s, so for me those are the planes that I kind of used to read about when I was a kid. So well, how I got into planes? Oh, well, the Mirage is actually quite nice. The Vigan, well, I love ground pounding as I was mentioning. That's one of my planes to go, but the F5 is pretty good at ground pounding also. I think it's a pretty good bird. It's simple, but again, I don't really care. I mean, as long as it can do its job. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the reasons why I love the F5. And I mean, if you look at it, yeah, sure, it's a light plane, but I think as far as I've read about it, in Vietnam, that thing used to be a workhorse for the US Air Force and the South Vietnamese Air Force. It used to do pretty well. I think after the war, even the North Vietnamese captured a few of them and actually pressed them into service until they couldn't get parts for them anymore. Yeah, nice landscape. So I would say that's actually quite a tribute. And other countries have used them as well. I mean, in Europe, I know Switzerland used them for quite a while. In Asia, I think the Republic of China and so on. Yeah, it really went everywhere. I mean, it's an amazing plane. So I don't care what people have to say that it's simple, it's so on. It does its job. I mean, I've actually tried once navigating with it, just with the clock, with a counter, basically a countdown timer, and uh, just keeping a certain speed and uh, trying to calculate everything. So yeah, literally Dead Reckoning. That and well, I guess Dead Reckoning's the name for it. That and the map. So gonna slow down a bit. But yeah, it's again not many people like those things. Yeah, that was the real deal. I mean, no tac. Well, you had TACAN, but I mean, TACAN has a limited range. That's a radar altimeter, by the way, screaming at me that I'm below 300 meters. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there's the airfield there. Okay, so I'm gonna actually turn out to sea, and if I remember right, yeah, it's on the far side of the bay. Yeah, there it is. I can actually see it. Okay, I'm gonna try to do an approach like this. I don't know what the heading for the runway is, but anyway. Well, we'll just use the Mark 1 eyeball again. Yeah, let's fly out to sea a little bit. But, I mean, as far as I know, pilots used to do that. I actually should find myself some nice books to read about how they used to do it during the Vietnam War. That's actually very interesting to me. And of course, the Russian pilots did it as well. If you didn't have, anything RSBN or ADF, bloody hell, you actually had to use the map. But it worked. I mean, they got home, most of them. Well, even with those primitive ways of navigation. I'm actually thinking, I thank you for the idea. I think I'm going to do this is a good idea for a stream, do a kind of a long flyover with the F5. Oh yeah, the Kursant campaign. Yep, I have it. I haven't flown it yet. People say it's quite good. I'm a bit slow, that's why the plane is screaming. I apologize for the loud noise. Whoa, my wingman just flew very, very close to me. That was scary. Crazy Ivan. Yeah, I know. I left it silent on purpose. So, well, again, I wasn't paying attention to where I was. Well, I guess I gotta go back up to sea because I have enough fuel, so the fuel's not an issue. I just need to go back because, well, I was talking to you guys and I wasn't paying attention to the plane itself. Shave on me, eh? Well, the cockpit sounds are actually a bit quiet in the MiG-19. It's if you once you close the canopy, it's very quiet. Sometimes yes, she does require a bit of rudder, but she doesn't need that much. I mean, the vertical, basically stabilizers. Well, is just insanely big, and I don't know. I mean, I've barely used rudder on it. It's not a fly-by-wire, sure, but I don't really feel like I need the rudder that much. The other thing is, well, it does have some pretty bad flight characteristics in some cases, or so I saw in one video that was made with the pre-release, where it can cause very bad adverse yaw. But for example, as far as I've seen, stall recovery is very, very, very easy. Okay, let's give it a turn. Now I'm actually just using the rudder to try to keep her coordinated a little bit, but yeah, I think she's pretty good. It's a damn good plane, I think. And Razbam have done an excellent job with it. I'm also surprised, though, that it never got usually they have the early access times for it. This is a very slow turn, but well, I'm just enjoying the flying. They never had an early access for it. They just, poof, released it immediately. But I guess with the F-14 coming up, well, F-14 is going to eat a lot of customers. Now, landings are probably one of the things that I'm worse at, but this plane was surprisingly easy the first time, so... well, bad approach because I'm not paying attention too much to it, but... But yeah, that was a bit of a rough landing. And wow, she stops really, really fast. And there was the drag chute. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm actually even interested in joining up as a radar interception officer if somebody needs one. Okay, let's go park her up. This is... I don't remember which airfield this is, but anyway. One thing about the MiG-19 you should know, and I believe you should get it, by the way. I think if you like Red Force planes, it's a good thing to have. Again, she uses the same on-the-ground taxiing model with the MiG-21, so you need to use differential braking, and she uses basically the same. Yeah, it's tempting, and I mean, there are probably plenty of Cold War servers around, or, well, not so many, but I think it's a pretty good plane if you want stuff like, you know, well, I guess the last bits of good old dogfighting when you just grab your guns and try to grab the other guy and just, you know, riddle him full of holes. One thing I have to tell you, she does have a very low amount of ammunition in the 30mm guns, unlike the 20mm on the F5. So, and I have to use the brakes a lot. She likes going a little bit fast on the ground, so. As you can see, it's a bit hard to corner. Yep, gotta be precise. And she lacks the... I think it has lead computed gun sight of the MiG-21 or the F5. So, yeah, you really gotta be precise with it as far as I remember. So, let's close the chute cover here. Oh, let's just trickle the brakes now and then. Okay, let's go next to those fuel trucks. But, I mean, if you hit with the MiG-19, oh boy, they're gonna feel it. Also, remember, you do have a bunch of air-to-air missiles as well. Where's my wingman? Probably lost in transition. Now, this mission I have here is not really designed for combat. It's mostly designed for practicing basic flying on the MiGs. Yeah, as you can see, she goes really fast. She doesn't have a parking brake, so, and there's no ground crew here. So even if I go, let's say, yeah, but I mean, she has really powerful engines. Now, I'm actually, if I'm going to open the cockpit now, so. I've never really tried opening it. Well, there we go. As you can hear, she's quite noisy. I love the detail on this, the gun sight, actually. I think they're really good. I mean, it's a MiG. Obviously, she sounds pretty great, yeah. I'm gonna start turning off the engines one by one. As you can see, okay, so you can actually see the warning lights. Actually, I really like these. And the cockpit animations are actually pretty amazing. And for the armament control panel, I'm just going to show this to you on the ground because, well, so you can actually switch the mode, guided missiles, NR-30 guns, bombs, rocket pods, and you can go the other way around. I just mapped this to my joystick, so it's just easier to change the weapon. It has only 4 positions. And for rockets, you can actually fire 4, auto mode, and 1, I think. Rockets counter mode, night or day, and radar screen mode, so you can actually control the radar screen as well. But I think she's really great. Here behind you actually have stuff like ammunition counters, bomb fuses, and it's pretty much a very standard gun sight. Yeah, I think it looks great. Let's go a bit outside and take a look at it, shall we? So this is outside look. I'll just try to go slow with it. But I mean, this is my first impression video or stream, and I mean, I can say this is actually a really great module. I will be probably flying this again, so I'm actually thinking maybe to do this and then the F5 kind of long flyovers with, you know, good old Mark 1 eyeball map and stopwatch navigation. It has other colors as well, I just haven't really bothered with them. But yeah, I mean, you can see every single rivet, so that's pretty amazing. And I've had a pretty rough landing, but the plane is still in one piece. So that means she's quite quick. Quite quick and quite tough, actually. That's what I meant. Apologies, I'm quite a bit tired. It's 2 a.m. where I live, so... Actually, I'm thinking maybe I should make another episode where I'm gonna try, for example, the air-to-ground weapons and air-to-air. I can actually change this mission a little bit to make it more interesting, but first I think we're gonna try some good old navigation with it, stopwatch and map, and then we'll see how far we can go. For the, well, ground crew, rearm and refuel, let's see what skins does it have for Russia. So it has the silver one. So this one, this is basically the one they mostly used, I suppose. It seems pretty standard Russian skin. I also love this skin on the Mig-21, bare metal. I think it's just amazing. And if we also have the default skin, which is just bare bones, but the reflections are just amazing. And finally we have the East Germany. So East German camouflage. I think this one's actually pretty good. Well, maybe the blue doesn't really fit there, but I think it's damn good also. And finally, there's one more skin that it has, or at least for the Russian planes, it has the fictional snow camouflage. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed yourself. This was our first impression video. Apologies, my eyes are a bit dry. First impressions video of the MiG-19. I was skeptical about it. when I first learned about it. I've seen the videos. No cow, sadly. I mean, look, with this camouflage, it kind of looks like a cow. We can call him, I don't know, we can give it a name, but... yeah, this is the cow camouflage. Moo. Sadly, no cows. Only farmers. And it was just me and my wigman. Yep, it does. I think I'm gonna stick to using this camouflage. After all, it is called a farmer, so... anyway, thank you for tuning in for the introductory flight. I think it was pretty good, and I didn't embarrass myself with the flying skills. Remember, if you want to see more of the Mig-19 and other games as well, and other videos, hey, no problem. Anytime, just if you want to, if you have requests, of course, you can always message me, and I will try to, make them happen. And remember, if you like my content, you can always follow and stay tuned to my other DCS and not DCS streams. Alright, thank you for following. Anyway, hey, maybe we can even fly together sometime, so... and we can even stream it. Alright, anyway, thank you for watching, and I wish you a good night, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I have to wake up quite early tomorrow, but I don't care. This was very fun to do, so... that's about it. Anyway, I will see you in the next one. Take care and fly safe.